Well, good evening. Tonight we're gonna go out and we're gonna try to plant some corn. We don't do a whole lot of the corn planting. We're gonna actually grow a corn maze this year for one of our neighbors. I just have a little small field by our house that my boys and I farm. We do a little bit of hay and a little bit of corn. But anyway, corn planter, this is just an old 7100 deer. She has been used for a couple, 3 years, so we got to do a little bit to her. Get some chains all lubed up. Get the planter units all ready to go, and then we're gonna take this out tonight and we're gonna plant in a little bit of corn so that we can do that. So we'll show a little bit on here throughout the event of it. We'll plant it, we'll get everything all ready to go, and we'll show maybe making the maize in it and a few other things like that. So stay tuned. All right, so we're back again. Got the planter filled up, got the planter out here. Just started here, we went a few feet. Trying to get this calibrated in. It's been a while since I've planted some corn, been 4 or 5 years since I've planted some, been 3, 4, 5 years since I've planted some corn. Just checking some depth, checking spacing with them, see where it's gonna go. So far, everything looks good. I think everything's right where it needs to be for this setup. One thing that's kind of interesting about our area, if you're not used to seeing it, we live in the mountains here, western Colorado. So you can kind of see around me all the mountains that are all the way around, everywhere around the tractor and everything. But here, when we farm this, almost every piece of ground down here in the valley is furrow irrigated. So we put a piece of pipe across the top and we flood irrigate that. So we open gates every 30 inches down the rows and flood each individual row. So if you look on here, this was already marked out. I marked this out last night. So it looks like this the entire way down the row. And we're gonna be planting right up on top of those beds. So you can see that the bed itself is fairly high. We marked them down pretty deep so that the planter can sit up on top of there, and once it's on top there, we're going to put the seed in the top, run the water down it until that row gets black wet, and then that's what will germinate the seed, and away we go. This field tilled really terribly, so I really don't want to show you too much of that. You can see we got lots of sod up on the top. We ripped this field, which was probably a mistake. After we ripped it, there wasn't much we could do. It didn't want to plow under good. It didn't want to break down. So it planed out, and there's a lot of sod chunks in here. So this may or may not be the best corn patch that there's going to be, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. With this setup, if you look at the front of this marker, or the front of this corn planter, we have that marker, or the corn planter is set up with those same shovels on it, marking this out. So if you look down here at the front of the corn planter there, you're going to see those shovels. Oops, sorry, you can't see that. Those little shovels down there. And I've just got those in there cleaning the rows out after the tractor tires go through there. If you look, we got the tractor tires spaced out, oh, darn near perfect in that. So where the tires are driving right down in those rows. And that's gonna get, so after the tractor goes through it, it's not gonna really drive up on top of those all that bad. It's gonna sit right down in the rows. We're gonna go to the ends, mark them out, plant them, and away we come back. It's kind of a slow way to do it, but we don't get much rain here. I'm not sure what the total is, but it's very, very little rain. So if you don't irrigate it here, it don't grow. And all the water that we have that irrigates is all canal brought. So the water runs off the mountains, runs down the creeks, runs down the streams, runs into the rivers. The rivers, we pull it out and we put it into canals. And then from the canals, we bring it down, ditches, pipe, whatever it is, so that we can turn it out and irrigate it here. Center pivot sprinklers don't work all that well. Down in the valley, we got some guys up higher that run them. The water gets so dirty down here in the bottom, it's very tough to get it filtered out. So they have a lot of filtering problems with the pivots and with linears. But there's some guys that run them. There's some guys that get along with it. But about, I would say 85 to 90% of this country is all done this way. Now, like I said, granted, theirs look a lot better than ours does. Ours looks a little tougher this year just because of the way that we did the tillage in it. But the tillage that we did, we ripped that, we dissed it, we moldboard plowed it. Then we got on top of it with roller harrow and a disc again to break those clods back down a couple times each way that way. Then it was land planed out and then marked out like this. But like I said, that sod shouldn't be there, but it is. So I'm going to go ahead and run this planter a little bit. We've checked the seed. I found seed in all the rows. Spacing looks good. Depth looks good. So we're going to run a few rows here and then we might look at it again. See it. So we got the corn planted last night. We did run out of seed. So we got a little bit more seed that we're going to put in the ground here on some corn in a little bit. But then when you look behind me, it looks like we got big plans for today. All we got to do is get water running over there, but we got a pretty good load of stuff just to do that. So we're going to kind of show that a little bit. We've got to get some pipe put in. We've got to get some ditches dug. We're going to plant a little bit of triticale on a spot that has never been farmed before. It has a lot of sinkholes in it. Does not irrigate good. We can't flood it, so we're using gun sprinklers on it that we have to pump for it. But we're going to get started on that, and then we'll kind of show you a little bit of time lapse and some stuff on that. So we got pretty much everything done that we were going to try to do. We were able to get some seeding done. We got all this pipe put in, and we're running water down the rows. You'll be able to see why it's so important for us to do the moldboard plowing on this. A lot of guys will disagree with that and say you absolutely do not want to run a moldboard plow anything over your dirt. And I can show you exactly why. It's how this one plowed up. This one plowed up terrible, but if you look right down there, you see that big old, whoops, sorry, I gotta go the wrong way. See that big old clod stuck in there? We're gonna fight those. Since we did such a poor job plowing that, we're gonna fight that for a while to get this water all the way through the other end. We're gonna end up having those little dams and stuff, and what you'll end up having, then you have those little dams, it'll back the water up and it spills over to the next row and runs down, then you get rows that don't get water all the way through them. So we're gonna end up walking this and kind of fighting, babying that water all the way down to the bottom to get it, but we'll get it through there. Once we get it through, then it'll be fine. It's just getting it down there the first time. But yeah, that's what, if you've never seen that before, so we've got, oh, I'm going the wrong way. We've got pipe here and running all those little individual gates, running all that in there. And we have just a small system here that my sons and I built. They call it a bubble screen, but we have a lot of problem with crawdads, lawn clippings, sticks, corn cobs, chunks of sod that end up in the pipe. So we just have this screen right here that the water runs up through the middle and blows out over the top, screens it out, falls back down in the bottom, then just comes out into our pipe and then starts running down these rows. So that'll probably take, I would bet, the better part of 12 to 18 hours to get down through the bottom. And then we're gonna probably end up having to let that soak for, I don't know, 12 hours, 24 hours before that gets nice and black to germinate it. And then we'll move down. We'll move down there to another section farther down the field, and we'll just keep running them until we get them all the way down to the end. But kind of a different setup if you've never seen it before, but corn started. So I was going to show you, you can kind of tell where we got this little bit of darker colored ground over there. That's all the ground that we marked. That's where the corn's going. And then you see all this lighter ground all the way down the road here. There's about 4 acres here. This has never been farmed, not only since we've had it, but since the previous owners had it. The reason being is this piece of ground is right next to a draw over here that water drains off the mountains, runs down through this little draw, and it makes cavernous holes like, oh, can you see that one there? Like this one. That's not caused by animals, that's water. This dirt is clay, they call it adobe, but it's a clay dirt, but when it's dry and you run over it with skids to your tractor, it turns the consistency of like powdered sugar, and it's highly erodes something fierce. So the problem with it is where this little field, this little section is so close to this draw, if the water starts soaking up in the dirt, and there's a little fissure, a little crack, a little something in there, it will eventually start making its way over here to this draw. And once it gets over there, a little bit will start going through, and it mines out a cavern over there. So what ends up happening is holes. So if you look here, I'm trying to see that I'm showing you the right thing here. That is what we would call a sinkhole. That little hole is probably 25 feet deep. Ain't very big, but it's way down there. It goes to the bottom of this little draw. And so that water is just going to go straight down and straight over. The reason that we don't flood this piece, like what we did with the far piece, is if you turn the water down here, like what we were doing at that pipe, if you turn that water down here, it won't go 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, and then it goes straight down in one of these holes, and you'll see it coming out the bottom of the draw down there, and you'll never get to the bottom. This whole section is completely full of holes. And so what we've done to mitigate that, and that's why we got some triticale that we're putting in here, which is one of the cheapest things we could possibly put in here just to grow something. But if you look right there's a steel post right behind me. There's 10 of them. I don't know if I can see another one. Geez, I'm right in the way. Yeah, there's another one right there. Where all those steel posts are down the field, we have risers there. And we don't have any gravity flow, so we'll end up putting a tractor up here running a pump. And we'll move little gun carts around, and we'll irrigate this with sprinklers, with the idea that we're going to try to irrigate it from the top down and try to get some moisture in the ground, and then eventually get this to set down, because there's full of these little holes all over down there. And we're trying to get it to fall in and do that. And so by tilling it up, farming it, irrigating it, tilling it up, farming it, we're hoping to set that down and get that to where we get rid of these stupid holes. And then we could actually grow something over here instead of just that nasty looking rabbit brush stuff that's over there. So interesting. So this is our last little section. I was just up there and showed you the irrigating side of it. So if you look way up there, you can see that white pipe running along the top of that field. But so the last part we got to do is we got to deal with the wastewater. So the water that comes off the field, it comes down these little rows, and we got a ditch here. This ditch is going to take this just right on over here where these trees are, and we got a pretty good sized pond over there, and we catch all that wastewater there, and that's what we use to irrigate our lawn and stuff for the house. So we just catch that, then it spills over and heads on down the draw to someone else. So that's kind of the last step. As soon as we get this last little chunk over here done, this project will be done and ready to go.